So my name is Spyros. So this will be in English because I see um, there is someone from abroad also attending. So let's start. I'll share my screen. There's a Q&A and we can take answers. We'll take questions at the end. So hopefully you can all see my screen. So we're going to talk about how to build an engineering team that ships valuable products. So first of all, let me introduce myself. So my name is Spyros, and I'm the CPTO of YourHero in Greece, known as Lefaras, but we also operate in Cyprus, Ireland, and Portugal. So let's get to it, and we'll talk about how we can build an engineering team that offers value. So let's start by actually discussing what is engineering. So I took a nice kind of excerpt from Wikipedia. So this is the official kind of explanation of what engineering is. And it's a long, pedantic and academic kind of explanation. But the clue is that the term engineering is basically derived from the Latin ingenium, meaning cleverness. So the question is, what is the software engineering, which is more closer to our topic? So software engineering is a systematic engineering approach to software development. And this is the Wikipedia source again. So it's the engineering kind of using the ingenuity that we engineers hopefully have to create better software. Then I wondered what was the goals of software engineering. So the goals are basically to design, develop, and test and maintain software. And we can see here the application and what we need to do to ensure a good quality software. So sorry for that. I was just seeing if I'm needed. So we see the 7 kind of most important aspects of the goals of software engineering, and that's the readable code, correct code, reliable, reusable, extendable, flexible, and efficient code. So these are all very nice kind of goals set for building better tech and code quality. My next wonder was what makes a good product, and that's when I used the Mind the Product, which is kind of the mastermind kind of blog for product development, and that gave me this kind of definition. Good products must have a solid value proposition and solve a real problem, be understandable by users, perform the task as easily and efficiently as possible. So what kind of stood out to me is that what is a good product? It needs a solid value proposition, it should solve a real problem, it should be understandable, and perform the task easy and efficiently, and become better and harder to part with. So on one hand, we have the goals of a software engineer, which is the code quality and the tech quality. On the other hand, you have the goals of a good product, which basically, in a few words, providing and adding value. And that was where it struck me that there was the big divide. So how can you have on one hand, a definition of a great product being focused on value, customers, and users, and on the other hand, have the goals of engineering, which is focused on code quality. And this is where it struck me that this separation is huge. So if a great product is there to solve real problems, should this not also be part of the goals of software engineering? Should this not definitions kind of converge at some point? So we can't have two separate definitions when we work in an organization. So I saw 2 ways that an engineering team can work. On the left-hand side, we have the introvert way of an engineering team. And this is where we have teams such as the backend, the front end, the mobile development, QA, DevOps, and data engineering. And their goal is quality, scalability, usability, extendability. And on the other hand, we can view the organization of engineering team differently. We can see it more like an extrovert way of doing things, which basically have the technology team, the UX and UI team, the product team, and the BI team, which all of them come together to build products that customer actually love and enjoy. So if we want the two definitions of a good product and a good and the goals of a software engineering team come together to build and extract some value, I think we should go towards the right definition, which is the extrovert way, and see the engineering team as a whole, and that's something bigger that involves separate departments. So now we possibly have a common goal in the engineering team. So a valuable product is what we want to build. So we need the value proposition. We want to solve the real problem, to build something that's understandable and something that we can perform tasks as easily and efficiently as possible. So coming together to this definition and knowing why and what we want to build and how to extract some value, now we want to create the big leap forward, the big change. And the big change is basically on mind shifting. So how can we move the engineering team, as we now see it, from what we've been taught in our academia of just building good quality tech, and move this and create this mind shift to building valuable tech and creating value. So this is where we need to perform the change. So the tech team is obviously there to build stable, scalable, and extendable technology, but it's basically there to answer, how do we build? The UX UI team, who overlooks the user perspective and user behavior, is there to ask and answer, who do we build for? The product team, who overlooks the business goals, is there to answer, why are we building? And the BI team is there to measure how much we're reaching our goals or how much are we moving business goals. And this is where the big change now happens. So since we're all working in a common goal, since our engineering team is wider than just the introvert coding tech team that we had before, we can now see this change. So the tech team, from just building good tech, is now, of course, building tech, and that's what we're primarily doing, but we are also offering solutions. The UX UI team is designing and measuring the value built. It's not just designing something that is nice and looks good. The product team, from just writing stories and specs, is there to measure impacts and create impact. And the BI team, from just a unit assisting the business processes, is there to contribute with its BI metrics to product thinking and participate in product creation. So all this is nice, and the big question here is, how do we get there? So how do we move an organization from, and a tech team, from knowing that I'm coming to work daily, I'm being told what to do, I'm just coding, I'm just creating the tech, and then whatever I create is someone else's problem, to a team that is actually coming to work and assisting with ideas, with brainstorming, offering solutions. So how do we make this big change? So the basis of everything is to initially set some goals. The goals should be SMART goals, as we call them, so very specific and measurable, easily understood. There shouldn't be 10 different KPIs about everything, 1 or 2 goals. And everyone needs to contribute to this. Step two is to create the ceremonies, especially if we're using and following some kind of agile manifesto or practice. So the ceremonies should include all attendants and begin and start from the very start of the project. The very start of the project is the inception of the idea. So it's where the business comes together and says, we want to solve this problem for the user. We want to move this KPI. And step three is about measuring and coming back to all these KPIs and to all these numbers to evaluate performance. But the base of everything and the most important here is to communicate again and again and again. So this way we can get our team aligned, we can get our team understanding. It's not an easy task. It's not easy for engineers and also product or UX UI to start working towards a common goal and start moving towards start building features that actually create value and move metrics. And there's also a time to do this. So what we usually neglect in business and engineering is when do we enter with good practices? When do we apply good practices? When do we apply this mind shift? So when you're firstly launching your product, when you're a startup, you can't really put this practice together. It's more like finding my product market fit. It's more about trying things on the market quickly. You don't put good practices in place. You don't put good methodologies. You don't get everyone brainstorming. You try stuff quickly. If all things go well, you go into your growth phase. The growth phase is basically moving, hiring your team, putting some practice together, trying different methodologies, also seeing the founders and the people that were here initially mature and grow. And then there's the shakeout phase, which is not the growth that you had before, but you start leveling out and you start wondering, what am I doing right? And what I was doing some time ago doesn't work for me anymore. And that's when maturity comes in. So I think the maturity is when you start applying these changes. So usually as engineers, and we do like to be vocal, we usually want to see good practice from the start, and this will never work. We want to see good tech from the start of a business. This will also never work. When you're running out of money, you can't really go and add tech that we all want to add. However, there comes a phase where product and tech needs to support the business. And that's when the business also starts asking for better quality and more value. And that's when those things come together and we can apply our changes. So what's the desired outcome once all this happens? So if everything aligns and everything works as expected, and if the engineering team gets formed in the way that we just described, we have a tech team that knows for whom it's building, whatever it is building. So we know the meaning, we know what we want to achieve, and we know where we want to get to, and we can also contribute to the ideas and the product. We have a UX UI team that designs for specific KPIs and that needs to think of the best UX UI practices to achieve the targets set. We have the product managers that are there to ensure and contribute to achieving the goals. And we also have the BI team, which can link the high-level business metrics to the product initiatives. So they are there to link and say that the product feature that we just released X months ago has actually contributed to this KPI of our business. So that creates a winning team, and it's not easy, but it is achievable. And I would like to thank you. So if there are any, I'll wait for 2-3 minutes to see if there are any questions. Okay, thank you all for your time, and I hope to meet you all in person at some point.